My girlfriend ditched me for clubbing instead of taking me to the emergency room, so later, when she begged for forgiveness, she faced an ending she never expected. Last Saturday night was supposed to be a chill evening for me. My girlfriend, Sarah, 22, female, had plans to go out clubbing with her friends for her best friend's birthday. I wasn't invited, but honestly, I was fine with that. Clubs aren't really my thing, she knows that, and I know she likes to let loose with her friends, so no biggie, right? I figured I'd just use the alone time to relax, maybe binge a new Netflix show, and enjoy some peace and quiet. Sarah left around 9 p.m., all dressed up and looking amazing. I wished her a good night, and she kissed me on the cheek before heading out. I settled on the couch with some snacks and started scrolling through YouTube. The evening was going pretty well until around 11 p.m. That's when it all started. At first, I felt this weird pain in my lower stomach. It was dull but noticeable. I brushed it off as something I ate earlier, maybe some bad leftovers or whatever. I shifted on the couch, thinking it'd go away, but within a few minutes, it got way worse. The pain moved lower, like way lower. It's hard to describe, but it felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer to my groin. I doubled over, clutching myself, and started sweating. My mind was racing. I thought maybe it was something serious, but I still hoped it'd pass. But it didn't. The pain got so intense that I could barely move. I remember trying to stand up to grab my phone from the table, but as soon as I got up, I just collapsed onto the floor. I was curled up in the fetal position, shaking and sweating like crazy. At this point, I knew something was seriously wrong. I checked myself out of pure desperation and noticed my right, testicle was swelling up, like noticeably. That's when I realized this wasn't something I could just sleep off. I reached for my phone, which had somehow ended up on the coffee table, and I immediately called Sarah. I figured she'd come home and help me get to the hospital. She was only at a club 5 minutes away, so it made sense to me that she'd drop everything and come back. But when I called her, she didn't pick up. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried calling again, but same thing. So I texted her, "Something's wrong, please come home." A few minutes later, she finally responded, but instead of concern, she texted back, "What is it?" with that unamused face emoji. Yeah, that hit me hard. I could barely type at this point because of the pain, but I managed to reply, "I need to go to the hospital, please come back now." Her response? "For what?" I tried to explain as simply as I could, "My testicle hurts, I need you to take me." I could feel myself getting desperate, and the pain was only getting worse. I tried calling her again, thinking maybe she just didn't understand how serious this was, but she declined the call. At this point, I was struggling to breathe properly because the pain was so overwhelming. I ended up throwing up on the carpet, like full-on vomiting from the pain. My body was completely shutting down. After a few minutes, I grabbed my phone again and saw that Sarah had responded. This time, she sent a bunch of laughing emojis. Laughing emojis. I couldn't believe it. I was in the worst pain of my life, and my girlfriend was treating it like a joke. I tried calling her one more time, hoping she'd hear the urgency in my voice, but instead, she blocked me. I was lying there on the floor, blocked by the one person I thought I could rely on, and I had no idea what to do. I felt abandoned, and the pain was only getting worse. At that moment, I realized I couldn't count on her, so I called emergency services. I explained the situation to the dispatcher, and she asked if there was anyone who could drive me to the hospital. Stupidly, I said yes because I thought Sarah would come around. I still had hope. The dispatcher told me she'd call back in 10 minutes to check on me, but those 10 minutes felt like an eternity. I was throwing up again, curled up on the floor, and struggling to stay conscious. When I checked my phone again, there was nothing from Sarah, no messages, no missed calls, just silence. I waited as long as I could, but eventually, I gave up and called 911 again, this time asking for an ambulance. After Sarah ignored my texts, blocked me, and left me to deal with the situation on my own, I was stuck lying on the floor of our living room, trying to survive the pain. The ambulance was on its way, but those minutes waiting felt like an eternity. I was cold, shivering, and scared out of my mind. Every second that passed felt like my body was giving up on me, and honestly, I started to panic about what was going to happen. I don't know if you've ever experienced pain so bad that it messes with your sense of time, but that's exactly what this felt like. I kept thinking, what if the ambulance doesn't get here in time? What if I lose, one of them? It wasn't just the physical pain anymore, it was the fear. The realization that my girlfriend wasn't there for me hit me almost as hard as the pain itself. This was someone I trusted, someone I thought I could rely on, and now, in what felt like one of the worst moments of my life, I was completely alone. At one point, I tried to sit up, thinking I could maybe crawl to the bathroom and clean myself up a little before the paramedics arrived. Big mistake. As soon as I moved, the pain hit me like a freight train again, and I ended up dry heaving into a trash can. My body was drenched in sweat, and the living room carpet was a mess from earlier when I couldn't hold it together. The smell was awful, and I felt disgusting, but there was nothing I could do except wait. I heard the ambulance sirens before I saw the lights. That sound was both a relief and a reminder of how serious this was. When the paramedics knocked on the door, I must have looked like hell because one of them immediately asked if I could speak or move. I managed to whisper, "Hurts too much," and pointed to the general area where the pain was coming from. They got me onto a stretcher and started asking questions, but honestly, I was barely coherent. Everything was a blur. The ride to the hospital felt like a mix of fast forward and slow motion. The paramedics were trying to reassure me, but I could tell they were concerned. One of them kept checking my pulse, and the other was writing things down on a clipboard. I remember hearing one of them say, "We'll get you there, don't worry," but I couldn't even nod in response. I was too focused on the pain and trying not to lose it completely. When we got to the hospital, they rushed me into an exam room. A doctor came in almost immediately, asking me a bunch of questions I could barely answer. I remember trying to explain what was happening, but my voice was so weak it felt like I wasn't even speaking. The doctor did a quick exam and told me they needed to perform emergency surgery. He explained something about blood flow and how they needed to untwist the cord to save my, well, you know. I was too out of it to fully understand everything, but the urgency in his voice was enough to tell me this was serious. The last thing I remember before they sedated me was the doctor saying, "We're going to take care of you, don't worry." Then it was lights out. When I woke up, I felt groggy and disoriented. My whole lower half was sore, but the pain was nowhere near what it had been before. A nurse came in to check on me and explained that the surgery had gone well. They managed to save my testicle, but it had been a close call. She said if I'd waited even an hour longer, things might have turned out very differently. That hit me hard. The thought of losing something so personal because I hesitated to call an ambulance or because I relied on Sarah, it was almost too much to process. After the nurse left, I finally had a chance to check my phone. There were dozens of missed calls and messages from Sarah, most of them timestamped from around 3 a.m., which was hours after I'd been taken to the hospital. I scrolled through the messages, and they started out angry. "Why the hell is there vomit in the living room? Where are you? Did you leave the door unlocked?" But then, as the timestamps got later, her tone changed. She must have realized I was serious because the messages turned frantic. "Oh my God, are you okay? Where are you? Please answer me. I'm so sorry, I'm coming to the hospital, tell me which one you're at." I didn't reply. I couldn't. I was too tired, too hurt, and honestly too angry to deal with her at that moment. The betrayal I felt was still fresh. She had laughed at me, she had blocked me, and now, after everything, she wanted to act like she cared. It felt hollow. A few hours later, Sarah showed up at the hospital. I woke up to the sound of her crying quietly in the chair next to my bed. When she realized I was awake, she practically lunged at me, hugging me and apologizing over and over. She kept saying she thought I was joking, that she didn't realize how serious it was, and that she felt awful for not being there when I needed her. I didn't say much, I just nodded and let her talk. Part of me wanted to yell at her, to ask her how she could treat me like that, but I didn't have the energy. I was still processing everything that had happened, and the last thing I wanted was to have a screaming match in a hospital room. Sarah stayed with me for the rest of my hospital stay, trying to make up for what she'd done. She brought me food, helped me with little things like adjusting my blanket, and stayed by my side almost the entire time. I could see that she felt guilty, but it didn't erase what she had done. The damage was already done. Now that I'm home, I'm starting to really think about what this means for our relationship. I've been with Sarah for 5 years, and up until this point, I thought she was the one. But now I don't know. If she couldn't be there for me during one of the scariest nights of my life, how can I trust her moving forward? These thoughts have been running through my mind nonstop, and I honestly don't know what to do. By this point, the physical pain was starting to subside thanks to the surgery, but the emotional side of things, that was a whole different story. Coming to terms with what had happened, both to my body and in my relationship, was like unraveling a knot I didn't know how to untangle. I felt raw, exposed, and unsure of what to do next. Sarah was by my side for the last couple of days in the hospital. She made an effort to be supportive, which I could tell was her way of trying to make amends. She brought me coffee in the mornings, helped me with little tasks like adjusting my socks since bending over hurt, and even tried to crack a couple of awkward jokes to lighten the mood. I could see she was trying, but it all felt hollow. Her sudden attentiveness only made the betrayal sting more. On the last day before I was discharged, the doctor went over my recovery plan. No lifting anything heavy for a few weeks, no strenuous physical activity, and definitely no bedroom activities. He was kind about it, but I could tell he was serious. I nodded along, grateful that things hadn't turned out worse. After he left, Sarah started asking questions: what I could eat, if I'd need follow-up appointments, when I'd be cleared to work again. She was meticulous, almost overcompensating for how absent she had been before. I didn't have the energy to point it out. The ride home was awkward. Sarah had brought her car, and as she drove, she kept glancing over at me like she wanted to say something. The silence was heavy, and I could feel the tension building with every mile. Finally, she broke the ice with an apology, another one. "I'm so sorry for how I acted," she said, gripping the steering wheel tightly. "I really thought you were joking, and I didn't realize how serious it was. I don't know what I was thinking. I feel terrible." I nodded but didn't say anything right away. I wanted to be fair. I knew people made mistakes, and part of me wanted to believe her, but the other part of me, the one that remembered her laughing emojis and the "I'll block you" message, wasn't ready to let it go. When we got back to the apartment, the reality of everything hit me like a ton of bricks. The vomit stain on the carpet was still there, dried and crusty. The coffee table was littered with water bottles and tissues from that night. The air smelled stale, like a combination of sweat, sickness, and cleaning supplies. It was a visual reminder of just how bad things had gotten, and I couldn't ignore it. Sarah immediately went into cleanup mode, grabbing paper towels and scrubbing at the carpet like she was trying to erase what had happened. I stood there, watching her, feeling disconnected. It was like I was outside of my own life, looking in on someone else's mess. Over the next couple of days, Sarah tried her best to make things normal again. She cooked dinner, brought me tea, and even offered to help with some work emails I was falling behind on. But every time I looked at her, all I could think about was that night, how she had chosen partying and blocking me over even checking to see if I was okay. The thought made my stomach churn, and I found myself withdrawing from her without even meaning to. One night, as we were watching TV, she finally confronted me. "You're still mad, aren't you?" she asked quietly, not looking at me. I didn't answer right away. I paused the show and took a deep breath. "I'm not just mad, Sarah," I said. "I'm hurt. I trusted you, and you let me down in the worst way possible. I was in so much pain, and you laughed at me. You blocked me." Her eyes filled with tears, and she started apologizing again, but this time I cut her off. "I need to know why," I said firmly. "Why did you think it was okay to ignore me? Even if you thought I was joking, why wouldn't you come home to check? Why would you block me when I was begging for help?" She looked down at her hands, twisting her fingers together nervously. "I don't know," she whispered. "I was drunk, and I thought you were just being insecure about me being at the club. I didn't realize. I just didn't realize." I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. "So you thought I was just trying to ruin your night?" I asked. "After 5 years together, that's what you thought of me?" Her face crumpled, and she started crying. "I don't know what I was thinking," she said through sobs. "I was stupid, and I made a mistake. I know I messed up, but I'll do anything to make it up to you. Please just give me a chance." That conversation left me more conflicted than ever. On one hand, I could see that she was genuinely sorry. She wasn't trying to make excuses, at least not anymore, and she seemed to understand just how badly she had hurt me. But on the other hand, the damage was done. Her actions that night showed a side of her I'd never seen before, and it scared me. If I couldn't count on her in an emergency, what did that mean for our future? The next day, I called my mom. I needed someone to talk to, someone who could give me perspective. I explained everything that had happened, from the pain to the hospital to Sarah's response. My mom listened quietly, and when I was done, she let out a long sigh. "Sweetheart," she said gently, 5 years is a long time, but it's not a lifetime. If you're already questioning whether you can trust her, that's something you need to take seriously. Trust is everything in a relationship." I knew she was right. Deep down, I knew, but hearing it from her made it feel more real. That night, I told Sarah I needed space. I asked her to stay with her parents for a while so I could figure out what I wanted to do. She broke down crying again, begging me not to end things, but I held firm. "I'm not saying it's over," I told her, "I just need time to think." She packed a bag and left reluctantly, promising to do whatever it took to earn back my trust. As I watched her walk out the door, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. Sadness because I still loved her, and relief because I finally had the space to breathe. Now I'm sitting here, writing this, trying to make sense of everything. I don't know what the future holds, but one thing is clear: things can't go back to the way they were. If we stay together, there will have to be serious changes. And if we don't, well, At least I'll know I gave it my all. I asked Sarah to stay with her parents, and honestly, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. With her gone, the apartment feels quiet, too quiet, really. I thought I'd appreciate the space, but instead, I find myself replaying everything over and over in my head. The night it all went down, the hospital stay, our conversations afterward. It's like a constant loop that won't shut off. I've been trying to keep myself busy. The doctor said I shouldn't do anything too physically demanding while I heal, so I've been sticking to light activities. Mostly, I've just been catching up on work emails, watching random shows, and scrolling through my phone. But no matter what I do, my mind always circles back to Sarah and what happened. It's like my brain won't let me move on until I figure out how I really feel. One thing that's been eating at me is how blind I was to this side of Sarah. We've been together for 5 years, and I honestly thought I knew her better than anyone. She's always been the type to take care of me when I'm sick, even if it's just a cold. I've seen her go out of her way for her friends and family too, so her behavior that night felt so out of character. It's been hard to reconcile the Sarah I thought I knew with the Sarah who ignored my pain and laughed at my messages. I keep thinking about the small moments leading up to all of this. Were there signs I missed, times when she showed me who she really was, but I brushed it off? I've been going back through old memories, trying to find patterns, but nothing jumps out at me. If anything, this incident feels like it came out of nowhere, which honestly makes it harder to process. If I could pinpoint a reason for her behavior, some flaw or red flag I ignored, it might be easier to understand, but I can't. Another thing that's been on my mind is the future. Before all of this happened, I was planning to propose to Sarah. I'd even bought the ring. It's still sitting in the drawer by my bed, and every time I open it, I feel this pang of regret. I'd pictured our life together so clearly, marriage, kids, growing older side by side. She was my person, or at least I thought she was. Now I'm not so sure. It's not just about the incident itself, though that's obviously a huge part of it. It's about trust. How do you rebuild trust after something like this? Can you? I've been reading articles and forums about relationships and forgiveness, trying to figure out if it's even possible. Some people say that time heals all wounds, but others say that trust, once broken, can never be fully repaired. I don't know which camp I fall into yet. My mom called me again yesterday to check on me. She's been a rock through all of this, which I'm so grateful for. She asked how I was feeling, physically and emotionally, and I gave her the usual update. I'm healing, but it's slow. Then she asked the question I've been dreading. Have you decided what you're going to do about Sarah? I didn't have an answer for her. I don't know, Mom, I said. I still love her, but I don't know if I can get past this, she sighed. Love isn't always enough, sweetheart. You need to feel safe with your partner. You need to know they have your back, especially in tough times. If you don't have that, you need to think long and hard about whether this is the person you want to spend your life with. Her words hit me hard. I've always valued loyalty in a relationship, and I thought Sarah felt the same way, but now I'm questioning everything. What if this wasn't a one-time mistake? What if, in another emergency, she reacts the same way? Can I risk that? Sarah has been texting me every day since she left. She's keeping her messages short and respectful, mostly asking how I'm feeling and if I need anything. She hasn't pushed me to talk about the relationship, which I appreciate, but I can tell she's holding back a lot. Part of me wants to respond and tell her everything I'm feeling, but the other part of me isn't ready yet. I don't want to say something in the heat of the moment that I'll regret later. I've also noticed how much of my identity was tied to our relationship. Without her here, I've had to confront parts of myself that I've been neglecting, like who am I outside of Sarah's boyfriend? What do I want out of life separate from our plans together? It's a strange feeling, but in a way, it's been good for me. I'm starting to realize that maybe I lost sight of myself a little in our relationship, and this time apart is giving me a chance to figure out who I am again. One of the most surprising things about this whole experience has been the support I've gotten from unexpected places. A few of my friends, who I haven't talked to in a while, reached out after hearing what happened. They've been encouraging me to take my time and not rush into a decision about Sarah. One of them even offered to come over and hang out, just to keep me company. It's been nice to feel like I'm not alone in this, even if it's just through a text or a phone call. At the same time, I've been careful about who I talk to about this. I don't want to badmouth Sarah to everyone we know because, no matter what happens, I still care about her. I don't want people to judge her based on this one mistake, even if it was a huge one. It's a tricky balance, venting about how hurt I am without turning it into a smear campaign. The ring is still sitting in that drawer, and every time I see it, I feel like it's mocking me. I haven't told Sarah about it, and I'm not sure if I ever will. Part of me wonders if she could even imagine how close I was to proposing, how I had planned everything out in my head. If she knew, Would it make her feel worse, or would it just make her feel more guilty than she already does? I don't know. What I do know is that I need more time. I've been journaling a lot, trying to sort through my feelings, and I keep coming back to the same question: can I forgive her? Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting, and I know I'll never forget what happened. But if we stay together, I need to find a way to move forward without holding this over her head. Otherwise, it'll poison the relationship. For now, I'm focusing on myself. I'm taking it one day at a time, letting myself feel all the emotions: anger, sadness, confusion, without pushing them away. I still haven't decided what to do about Sarah, but I know one thing for sure: whatever happens next, I need to be honest with myself and with her. This isn't just about what she did, it's about what I need to feel safe and secure in a relationship. It's been about a week since I asked Sarah to leave and stay with her parents. A lot has happened in that time, and I feel like I'm finally starting to get some clarity. This isn't going to be a neat, easy conclusion, but I owe it to myself, and maybe to Sarah, to figure out where things stand. Earlier today, Sarah texted me, asking if we could meet to talk. She didn't push or demand, she just asked if I was ready. After some hesitation, I agreed. We decided to meet at a small park near her parents' house. It's a quiet spot where we've had a lot of good memories, which felt both comforting and bittersweet. When I saw her, it was clear she'd been struggling. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying a lot, and she looked nervous, like she wasn't sure if I'd hug her or walk away. We sat on a bench, and for a while, neither of us said anything. Then she broke the silence. "I've been thinking about everything," she started, her voice shaky, "about how I let you down and how much I hurt you. I don't know if I can ever make it right, but I need you to know that I'll spend the rest of my life trying if you let me." I didn't respond right away. Instead, I looked out at the park, at the trees swaying in the breeze, and tried to gather my thoughts. Finally, I said, "I appreciate that, but it's not just about the apology, Sarah. It's about trust, and right now, I don't know if I can trust you the way I used to." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I get that," she said quietly. "But please don't give up on us." "I'll do whatever it takes," I sighed, feeling the weight of everything we'd been through. "I'm not saying it's over," I told her, "but I need time. This isn't something I can just move past in a week or two. It's going to take real effort on both of our parts." We talked for a while longer, hashing out what went wrong that night and how things could have been different. I told her how scared and hurt I felt, and she listened without interrupting. It was the most honest conversation we've had in a long time, and it felt cathartic. Now, as I write this, I still don't have a clear answer. Part of me wants to give Sarah another chance, to believe that she's capable of growing and learning from this. But another part of me is scared of being vulnerable again, of putting my trust in her only to be let down. What I do know is this: I need to take it slow. I'm not going to rush back into things or make a decision out of guilt or pressure. If Sarah and I are going to rebuild, it's going to be on a foundation of honesty and accountability, no shortcuts. So, Reddit, I am seeking your judgment. Should I forgive her? I've been sitting on this decision for a few days now, and after a lot of thinking, talking, and honestly crying, I've made my choice. We met up again a couple of days ago. Sarah had been staying at her parents' house since I asked for space, and this time, we agreed to talk at the apartment. I didn't want to do it over text or a phone call, it didn't feel right. After 5 years together, she deserved to hear this in person, even if it was going to hurt. When she walked in, I could see the hope in her eyes. She brought groceries and a couple of my favorite snacks, like she was trying to create a sense of normalcy. She even smiled, but it was forced, like she was bracing herself for bad news. We sat down at the dining table, and before she could start talking, I told her I had something to say. She nodded, and I could see her gripping her hands together to stop them from shaking. "Sarah," I began, trying to keep my voice steady, "I've spent a lot of time thinking about everything. About what happened, about us, and about our future. And as much as it hurts to say this, I don't think we can move forward together." Her face fell instantly. The hope I'd seen earlier vanished, replaced by tears welling up in her eyes. "Why?" she whispered. "I thought we were going to try." I took a deep breath, trying to choose my words carefully. "It's not that I don't believe you're sorry, because I do. I can see that you're trying, and I know you regret what happened. But the truth is, I can't get past it. That night, when I needed you the most, you weren't there. And worse, you treated me like I was an annoyance, like I didn't matter. That's something I don't know if I can ever forget." She started crying, full on sobbing, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to sit through. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her it was okay, but I knew that would only make things harder. So I just sat there, letting her cry, until she finally spoke. "I was drunk," she said, her voice breaking. I didn't realize how serious it was. If I could take it back, I would in a heartbeat. Please don't let one mistake ruin everything we've built. Her words cut deep, but I knew I had to stand firm. It's not just one mistake, Sarah, I said softly. It's what that mistake showed me. I've always thought of you as my partner, the person I could count on no matter what. But that night, I realized that might not be true. And if I can't trust you in an emergency, how can I trust you in a marriage, when we have kids, or when life throws us another curveball? She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I can change, she said. I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back. Just tell me what to do. I wanted to believe her, I really did, but deep down, I knew that even if she changed, even if she became the most reliable person in the world, the memory of that night would always be there. It would always make me second guess her, make me wonder if I could rely on her when it really mattered. And that's no way to build a future. We talked for a long time after that. She asked if there was anything she could do to fix things, and I told her I didn't think there was. I explained that this wasn't about punishment or revenge, it was about me needing to feel safe and secure in a relationship, and as much as I cared about her, I didn't think I could get that with her anymore. Eventually, she stopped crying and just sat there, staring at the table. I don't know what I'm supposed to do without you, she said quietly. Hearing that broke my heart, but I knew I couldn't let guilt change my decision. You're going to be okay, Sarah, I told her. You're stronger than you think. And I want you to know that this doesn't erase all the good times we had together. I'll always care about you, but I think it's best for both of us if we move on. She didn't argue after that. She just nodded, wiped her face, and asked if she could grab the rest of her stuff from the apartment. I told her to take whatever she needed. While she packed, I sat on the couch, staring at the wall, feeling completely numb. When she was ready to leave, she stopped at the door and looked back at me. I'm so sorry, she said one last time. I hope you find someone who deserves you. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. Then she walked out, and just like that, 5 years were over. It's been a couple of days since she left, and I've been doing my best to move forward. It's not easy. There are moments when I miss her so much it physically hurts, but then I think about that night and remind myself why I made this decision. I know it was the right thing to do, even if it doesn't feel that way right now. The ring is still sitting in that drawer. I haven't decided what to do with it yet, but I'm in no rush. For now, I'm focusing on healing, taking things one day at a time.